Howdy, I am Emily Smith, and this is my co-investigator, Samantha Rajano.
Today, we are trying to get to the bottom of a hot topic issue. We are trying to solve once and for all, does technology have an impact on child development, and what is the impact it has on the classroom? But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to define what technology actually is.
The definition is quite broad, but with the help of the International Technology Education Association, we've narrowed it down for you. So basically, technology is how people modify the natural world to suit their own purposes.
Now that we know what technology is, let's look at its developmental effects.
We'll start by posing some developmental benefits of technology in childhood. So research has found that computers and television can lead to increased concentration, persistence, adult observation, and the expansion of knowledge and understanding of the world. So children who have had opportunities to interact with technology have showed high levels of intelligence, language skills, conceptual abilities, and problem solving. A case study done by James Ernest has found that after 1 to 5 hours of weekly computer use, children have enhanced their English language, improved their personality, and become better at time management. They've also become more organized and tolerate losing better than most children do.
Although my co-host has brought up some great points, there are some concerns about technology. Excessive screen time has been linked to childhood obesity, sleep disturbance, poor performance in school, hindered peer relationships, and the undermining of learning. There is also a risk of addictive behavior and a concern about exposure to violence. The Campaign for a Commercial-Free Childhood and Alliance has found this exposure of violence has been linked with accepted aggressive attitudes, desensitization to violence, a lack of empathy for victims, and increased aggressive behavior.
So now we find ourselves at a crossroad. We have seen both benefits and consequences of exposure to technology. So where do we go from here? Like everything else in life, there needs to be a balance. So James Ernest mentions that exposure to technology should be done in a developmentally appropriate way. So how can we do this? There are multiple variables to consider: context, content, and time. So it's important to monitor the context and the content. So what is your child learning? How is it affecting their mind? And the amount of screen time is also important. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that media should not be allowed during meal times or snack times, and that should only be limited to smaller time slots.
With an appropriate balance of each of these factors, technology has the potential to be a great benefit to child development.
So now our question is, how does this impact the classroom? So let's see what our reporters in the field have to say.
For years now, schools across the country have been giving their students laptops and iPads, but we found a school that's actually gone retro, banning computers.
Digital detox. You can find this school, believe it or not, in Silicon Valley. Priya David Clemens visited this center of old school learning.
Each one of these intersections should go through the center of the circle.
As math teacher Bob Del Oliver writes on a chalkboard, students use actual paper and pencils.
Algebra 1 textbook, Spanish notebook.
During recess, playing real games, not video games, and there's not a cell phone nor a laptop in sight.
You've crossed out words and put new words in. Wouldn't this be easier to do on a word processor?
It would. As far as writing, I can write pretty fast.
What's surprising is that these unwired kids come from the most wired of families.
I've been in high technology in the Silicon Valley area for 25 years or so.
Kempton and Janice Azuno's kids attend the Waldorf School of the Peninsula in the heart of high-tech country.
There's plenty of time for them to learn technology. Plenty of time. I don't think it has a place in the classroom.
Just as you wouldn't let a child use a power tool until they were trained on the power tool, there's a time and place for technology.
Why don't you have computers in the classroom?
A computer is a good tool. It's a fun toy. It can even be a tutor, but it's not a teacher.
I found a baby wormy. Whoa! I found a worm too.
Here, everything is hands-on instead of online.
I do have my time with technology when I get home. It's just not in the classroom, and I like that. I really enjoy the fact that technology is something you use at home, and it is there to support what you're doing in your education, but it's not what your education is based on.
Waldorf is bucking a national trend of schools going digital, like Wilbur Wright Middle School in Munster, Indiana.
We feel like we are pioneers.
Pioneers because every student has a laptop, every library desk a desktop. One reason, subjects like science can be constantly updated online. Here, the textbook just can't compete.
Yes, correct, good. And in those textbooks, they're still reading about the fact that Pluto is a planet.
So it's ironic that while Middle America speeds up, some who live in Silicon Valley are taking it slow.
Took a field trip to Google, and we were going through their campus, and it was funny because they're so high tech and we were learning about them, but at the same time we weren't using any of their stuff.
They do use some stuff. Once classes wind down, Ondine Azuno powers up.
Using my phone to text and call and answering emails and doing my homework on my computer.
So if you have a choice, would you pick up a book or pick up an e-reader?
Pick up a book. The feeling of paper when you're reading it and being able to actually underline and oh, I like this, I don't like this, is you can't do that with your Kindle thing.
So perhaps the classroom of the future may just be the classroom of the past. Priya David Clemens, CBS News, Mountain View, California.
So there are two approaches to the classroom in this video. One is completely void of all technology. All the work is done by pen and paper. The other, every student is provided with a computer and every lesson is taught using some source of technology.
So what I found interesting was the extensive knowledge that these students have about technology. The world outside of the classroom is full of the latest gadgets. Yet they're still completely content and quite successful in the learning style that they have at school. They believe that they learn enough about technology outside of the classroom that they don't need it inside of the classroom.
So which approach is best for students? We did some digging to answer this question and found some very compelling pros and cons.
So first, let's look at the drawbacks of using technology in the classroom. The biggest concern that we found most people have is that computers do all of the work for the student. So they miss out on the opportunity to really digest what they've learned. It's also argued that computers take the thinking process out of daily schoolwork. On the other hand, teachers and parents worry that technology takes the emotion and heart out of a classroom experience. They say that computers do not give the emotional support that a teacher would normally give to a student.
Now let's look at the positive effects of technology. There is an increasing popularity of computer technology, and as administrators and teachers, it is our job to support and encourage computer technology in our education systems. Computers are important because they force educators to think about what we teach and how we teach it. They can also act as a tutor for students who are falling behind, such as reteaching lessons that teachers have already taught and repeat until mastery is reached. Computers can also help with literacy and reach the students that the teachers can sometimes overlook. They can also give students a greater access of information, a motivation to learn, and a jumpstart on marketable skills as well as an enhanced quality of work.
So it seems here that the benefits are outweighing the drawbacks. So the last question that we have is, what is keeping schools from implementing technology into their classrooms? What are the hesitations and roadblocks that are keeping them held back? Let's take a look at what we found.
The Journal of E-Learning laid out some hesitations teachers are having. The most relevant is the fear of technology being a distraction. It keeps students from being totally engaged in a lesson. Teachers believe that the answer to all of this is more than just a yes or no. There are many factors to consider.
We found that what was more pressing are the roadblocks that these teachers are encountering and bringing technology into their classroom. There's a lack of training and professional development available for teachers to make this happen. There's also a lack in resources. If they don't have the technology provided to give the students, then how can they have a lesson that's centered around technology?
Now that we've investigated the impact that technology has on development and how it directly impacts the classroom, it's up to administrators and teachers to decide if the benefits outweigh the drawbacks and if it's worth it for their school. Now it's up to you to decide where you stand on this hot topic issue.
Thank you for watching, and we hope that this was educational. We also hope that you found a fresh view on technology and its impact in the classroom.